Dad kicked me out of the house. My son Tim, who was taken to the hospital, said weakly. No wonder. My husband John had thrown our feverish son out into the pouring rain that morning. My mother-in-law and I couldn't let that go. So we decided to tell John a little white lie to make him reflect on his actions. If he showed real remorse, we planned to come clean right away. But if not, we'd keep up the lie. I was curious to see how John would react. My name is Emily, and I'm 33 years old. We're a family of 3. My husband John, who's the same age as me, and our 5-year-old son Tim. Both my husband and I have full-time jobs, although we work at different places. About 6 months ago, John started a hybrid work model, mixing work from home days with days in the office. He's thrilled about not having to take the crowded subway anymore. I'm jealous in that regard, but my job requires me to go to the office, so I don't have a choice. With his commute time eliminated, John has taken on more household chores. Although he initially resisted, he started doing the chores without complaint once he had some extra time on his hands. Because of that, I've started doing the daily drop-offs and pickups at Tim's daycare. With this arrangement, the division of housework should be fair and square. However, Tim has always been prone to fevers. We thought it might be some kind of illness, so we took him to the doctor, but no abnormalities were found. The diagnosis suggested that emotional stress could easily manifest physically in him. We couldn't take time off work every time Tim got sick, so my Mill, who lives nearby, would take care of him. She's a really sweet person, totally not the meddling Mill type. My family lives far away, so not only does she care for Tim, she also looks out for me. How's Tim doing lately? If he's not feeling well, don't hesitate to let me know. I'm always here to help. Emily, you seem busy lately, but how about we go out next weekend? I'm sure we could both use some girl talk. LOL. She's a wonderful Mill like that. For the record, our chats are usually about her love life. She's a widow. My Phil passed away a few years ago. She's beautiful, reflecting her kind nature. That's why she's never short of male admirers. She's quite the catch. She's never obsessed over a boyfriend and always puts family first. We adore her for that. It's been 6 months since John started his hybrid work model. He seems invigorated and enjoys his work. However, he has started to work overtime on the days he goes to the office. My husband, John, says, I've got more work at the office than I thought, so I can't help but come home late. Feel free to have dinner with Tim before I get back. When he puts it that way, it sounds like a convincing reason, and I just have to accept it. However, he's been coming home later and later, and now he doesn't get back until after 10 p.m. That said, he seems to be working comfortably from home the next morning. Am I the only one who finds this a bit suspicious? After thinking about who to consult, I decided to talk to my Mill. I felt that my Mill might have some answers for me. On a day when John is at the office, I visit my Mill's house with Tim. Sorry for the sudden visit, Mill. I have something I want to talk to you about. I discuss my concerns with her, looking serious. Lately, John's been coming home really late, sometimes past 10 p.m. He says it's because work piles up on the days he goes to the office. But that can't be right, can it? My Mill listens to my story intently. Well, it is strange that John comes home so late. He's not really a workaholic. He's the kind of guy who would rather slack off if he could. I remember he used to procrastinate on his summer homework until late August, then get all frantic. LOL. Good on Mill. While I was thinking that, I got more curious about what's really going on. So, Mill, what do you think is the reason John comes home late? Could it be an affair, perhaps? Mill, are you serious? Sorry, LOL, just messing with you. Affairs don't bring any good. You'd have to pay alimony and child support if you get caught. I don't think it's worth the short-lived thrill. You're right about that. But it makes the mystery of why he comes home late even deeper. Well, just be prepared that if John is really dumb enough, he might actually be having an affair. Mill warned. In that case, I'll take him to the cleaners and the divorce. LOL. We joked about it because we wanted to believe he wasn't cheating. But my husband did end up having an affair and causing a major incident. That day, our son Tim got sick with a fever. I had a crucial meeting with a client, so there was no way I could take the day off. I decided to call up my Mill. Hey, Mill, you around? Got any plans today? Is this about Tim being sick? Yes. He's running a high fever. I can't miss work. Could you help? Well, I'm actually on a one-night getaway at a hot spring. Sorry, I can't be there to help. So Mill was on a trip. I felt bad for even calling. With that thought, I replied as cheerfully as possible. I'm sorry for bothering you during your trip. We'll manage with Tim. Please enjoy the rest of your vacation. While wondering what to do next, my husband spoke up. Is Tim running a fever again? Yes, he's at 102 degrees Fahrenheit today, and I absolutely can't take the day off. Then my husband surprised me by saying, how about I take care of him? I don't have any meetings today, and I'll be working solo. I can handle looking after Tim. This was unexpected coming from him. Can I trust you with that? I was somewhat worried, but my husband assured me, don't worry, I got this. Tim just needs to rest, right? I can even make him some chicken soup for lunch. Trust me. Given that my husband was so confident, I decided to leave Tim in his care. Honestly, I didn't have any other options. Even after leaving Tim with him and heading to work, I was distracted, unable to focus well on my job. Then I heard that heavy rain was expected for the day. Rain so strong that it might cause flooding. By mid-morning, my client meeting had already been postponed due to the weather. I thought maybe I could have just taken the day off after all. Then I got a notification from my office saying to head home before the public transportation gets disrupted due to the heavy rain. So I was able to leave work much earlier than usual. While heading home, I texted my husband, how's Tim doing? I can come home early because of the rain. I'll be there soon. I sent the message, but didn't get a read receipt. This was odd. When working from home, my husband always has his phone next to him and usually responds quickly, unless he's in a meeting. Maybe he's busy taking care of Tim, I thought, and hurried home. Just as I was about to reach home, a car pulled up next to me. It was Mill and her boyfriend. Emily, we'll give you a lift home. She said this and gestured for me to get in the car. To be honest, walking in the heavy rain was exhausting, so I was relieved. It was a short distance to my house, but I accepted the ride. As the three of us pulled up to my driveway and parked, there was Tim, lying down in the pouring rain. Tim was soaked through. Tim, are you okay? Tim, wake up, answer me. I frantically spoke to Tim. Mill got out of the car and ran over to him. I felt his forehead. It was very hot. His fever must have risen since the morning. For a moment, Tim's eyes flickered open as he shivered. Tim, both Mill's voice and mine filled the air, but his eyes only opened for a split second. Then they closed again, and he seemed completely drained. Should we call an ambulance? What should we do? As I was panicking, Mill sternly said to me, pull yourself together. It might be quicker to just take him to the hospital ourselves. We've got the car right here after all. On Mill's suggestion, we decided to head to the hospital in her boyfriend's car. Amid all this commotion in the driveway, where was my husband? We didn't even check if he was home. We just headed for the hospital. Upon arrival, Tim was rushed in for treatment. Mill's boyfriend dropped us off and briskly drove away. That's when I finally sent a message to my husband. However, He hadn't even read the message I sent earlier saying I was on my way home. What's going on here? Meanwhile, it looked like Tim had woken up. Tim, Mill and I rushed to his bedside. Mom, Grandma, Tim replied weakly. Then, we asked Tim the important question. Tim, why were you lying there like that? Where is Dad? Tim looked like he was about to cry. Dad told me to get out and not to come in. Wait, what? He kicked you out. So Dad is at home? Yeah. There was some lady I've never seen before, and he told me to stay outside. A stranger. This screams infidelity. Mill and I exchanged glances. So in this rain, with Tim running a fever, my husband had the gall to kick him out and enjoy himself indoors. I can't believe it. Mill felt the same way. Still no word from my husband. Meanwhile, Tim drifted back to sleep. We decided to step away from Tim's side and hatched a plan for some revenge on my husband. We agreed to tell him that Tim had passed away. The idea was to gauge his reaction. If he seemed truly remorseful, we would tell him it was a lie right away. However, if he didn't show enough regret, we would let him think Tim was gone and let him realize the gravity of his actions. It seems like Mill is completely on my side. Still, no contact from my husband. We don't know exactly when Tim was put outside, but at least 2 hours had passed since I got to the driveway. My message to my husband remained unread. As Mill and I continued our discussion, another hour went by. Finally, a call came in from my husband. Emily, I can't find Tim. Do you know where he is? He sounded panicked, but I could tell he hadn't read my messages. As planned with Mill, we decided to go along with saying Tim had just passed away. Tim just took his last breath. What? I heard my husband's dumbfounded voice on the other end. Then he snapped back to reality and said, Hey, what kind of joke is this? You can't seriously expect me to believe that Tim is dead. LOL. He was laughing as he spoke, but the truth was, Tim was actually in a life-threatening situation. Knowing he was taking it lightly, I decided to continue with the lie. It's true. Tim was found soaking wet on the front porch with a high fever and passed away. John, didn't you promise to look after Tim this morning? Liar. My voice echoed with emotion. And then, we'll handle Tim's funeral here. Don't ever show your face to me again. With that, I hung up on him. I then set my phone to block any further calls from him. Soon after, Mill's phone buzzed. It was from him. Unable to reach me, he must have tried calling Mill. She proceeded to maintain the narrative that Tim had passed away, and she concluded by saying, John, you are the worst father ever. Then she also hung up and blocked him. That day, Tim ended up being admitted to the hospital. I felt truly sorry. If only I could have left work early. If only I could have been there sooner. Maybe none of this would have happened. I was filled with regret. The next day, after being discharged from the hospital, I decided to take refuge at my in-laws' house. My husband didn't come to the hospital yesterday. He also didn't appear at his parents' house. He must have thought we weren't coming back and spent the night with his mistress. Infuriating. I immediately hired a private investigator to look into my husband's infidelity. Within a week, the results were in. He was cheating. He'd been bringing his mistress to our home regularly, taking advantage of our absence. I even found out the time slot when this was happening. I decided to confront him during that time. It was on a day when my husband was working from home. The time slot was around 6 p.m. Mill said she'd come with me, so we left Tim with her boyfriend. To my relief, Tim adjusted quickly to being with him, so I felt comfortable leaving him there. I entered the house without ringing the doorbell. There were unfamiliar shoes at the entrance. I burst into the living room. Bang! As I flung the living room door open, there they were, two people sitting close together. Ugh! He really is cheating. This is not something I'd ever want him to see. That thought crossed my mind. How dare you bring another woman into this house when Tim went through all that? My husband started to panic. Mill chimed in. Tim suffered so much. You should expect some sort of punishment for this. She then presented the results from the private investigator. Seems like you've been bringing her here almost daily. How could you bring her into a house filled with memories of Tim? I'll never forgive you. As I said this, the woman tried to escape. No way I was letting that happen. I grabbed her arm as she tried to move past me and threw her back onto the sofa. I was surprised at my own strength. I'm filing for divorce, John, and you'll be paying alimony and child support. And let's not forget, you're going to owe her some damages too, so be ready. John then looked puzzled. Hold on, child support? Tim's dead, isn't he? Why would I pay child support? I revealed the truth to my confrontational husband. Tim is alive. What? I wanted to see if you'd show any remorse. Clearly, you haven't. While you may not be necessary as a father, child support is a different matter. Be ready to pay up. Also, I filed a complaint against both of you. Leaving a sick child like Tim outside is nothing short of abuse. Let the police handle you two now. By the way, Tim has told the police everything. I'm eager to see what comes of it. John, I wanted to trust you as a parent, but I can't anymore. Just know that I'm cutting ties with you. My mill and I doubled down, and my husband and his mistress were visibly shattered. As for what happened next, we officially divorced. My ex-husband and his mistress are now being questioned by the police. I hope they get arrested and face the consequences. As for alimony and child support, it's been agreed that he'll pay it in one lump sum. I didn't want any issues with him not paying installments down the road. I'm not sure how he'll come up with the money, but I suspect financial troubles will haunt him. As for Tim, I never intend to let him see his father again. After pulling something like that, there's no way he can act like a father. I'm done with having any more to do with my ex-husband. As for us, we've started a new life in a rented apartment. Mel moved into the same building. Tim and Emily are my family, she said with a warm smile. It felt reassuring. From now on, it'll be a fresh start with Tim, Mill, and myself. Mill's boyfriends come and go, but they're all good people, so we sometimes host dinner parties with them included. Everyone's mindful to make sure Tim never feels lonely, which makes me so happy. I may be a single mom now, but I intend to make every day a joyous one for Tim and me.